We have to find somebody that'll work with us that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business. We're losing.
Diddy's career now sits on a razor's edge after 50 Cent dropped recordings that ripped through the internet and ignited non-stop speculation about what comes next. As reactions exploded, the spotlight quickly swung to 50 himself and the next move he's been quietly setting up. While speaking about his upcoming Netflix docuseries, Sean Combs, The Reckoning, he made it clear that what the public has seen so far barely scratches the surface. According to 50, key material is still being held back, and once more is released, it could dramatically shift the narrative and send the entire conversation in a far more intense direction.
Diddy was recording because he thought he was about to beat the case. So he wanted to do a Netflix documentary. Didn't pay the guy, and then 50 got all 140 hours of footage of secret Diddy tactics. Well, there's a guy named Neil who was mentioned in the court, works right up under Diddy, was organizing everything. Allegedly, they are saying that he is on video, film, tampering with witnesses, giving out addresses, offering money, bribing, we'll pay for your lawyers, all kind of shit that could be counted as witness tampering, obstruction of justice. And 50, of all people, has his hands on this footage. And I'm hearing that this could implicate Diddy's lawyers in some bullshit. They could be charged. This shit is getting wild. And I'm hearing that this 50 Cent documentary is just the fucking tip of the iceberg.
This guy in this video said one specific name, and it was Neil, and it automatically made me think of Neil Dominique. Everything that we just covered the other day that came out from Diddy's former chef, Jordan, who was going to be a witness testifying against Diddy in the criminal trial. You remember she just took to her Instagram calling out Neil Dominique, saying that he was basically the one to give Diddy information that she was testifying to the grand jury. She has been claiming for a while when she testified to this grand jury on April 2nd of 2024, just 2 weeks later, Diddy's attorney would text her saying, "Dear Chef Jordan, this is Aaron Dyer. I'm Sean Combs' attorney. I left you a voicemail last week, but wanted to follow up. I have been told you have been contacted by law enforcement and might want an attorney to represent you." So that man in this video was basically saying that 50 Cent has video footage of Diddy talking to these people and setting this up.
That's right, 50 Cent has now suggested that more Diddy-related recordings could surface publicly on YouTube, placing them directly in front of the entire online world. But the most explosive turn since that interview isn't just the threat of additional footage, it's the rapidly spreading allegation that Diddy attempted to improperly influence a juror, a claim that has sent shockwaves racing across the internet. As the story intensifies, new details surrounding this accusation are beginning to emerge, and they could become the most damaging development yet, pushing the controversy into far more serious territory.
Telling us as clear as I don't have any reserve, like the fear that they would actually have towards him. I don't think he's.
What makes this even more staggering is that 50 Cent is now saying it out loud himself. After rumors began circulating, he confirmed he's sitting on a massive archive, claiming to possess more than 140 hours of recorded material, then doubled down online with a blunt post stating, "Yes, I have the footage," a move that instantly jolted the internet. That single admission sent shockwaves on its own, but he didn't stop there. Since then, 50 has gone further, openly explaining why he chose to confront Diddy head-on, transforming what once sounded like speculation into a deliberate, high-stakes clash that continues to intensify with every new statement.
People in this docuseries that wasn't in the previous docs that you saw, because they said, "No, I'm gonna do that one because 50, that's gonna be the big one." Because I'm not scared of none of that. Like, I think it's just the way I was brought up. I don't really register those those things. I've been through way more extreme things than these people. I look at the project, it's just another project to me, and they can look and create reasoning for it. It could be their personal take on why it's the way it is, but if they watch the docuseries itself, they'll understand it's been done tastefully, and it is the best version of a docuseries that you'll see on this. Well, he is a big part of the culture. Like, he's a respectable, he made it to a respectable position within culture. Any smart person would pick their fights. and you say, I don't really get anything out of it, it's not my business anyway, so why say something about it? Like, the docuseries is me putting together people who had different experiences and letting them tell their truth, right? And a lot of things come out that make clarity for you in a different way to it. But I only was comfortable saying stuff about him because I've been saying it for 20 years. I've said it since that day.
And now, a major shift is unfolding behind the scenes, as many individuals who once declined to participate in earlier documentaries have agreed to step forward for this project, largely because they trust 50 Cent and no longer feel compelled to stay silent. That change speaks volumes, with voices that once avoided attention now ready to share their perspectives, adding serious weight and credibility to a story that continues to build momentum and command attention.
A journalist would ask that, but a journalist would also say, I'm going to keep my sources secure. But, but I got it, though. They can blame it on me. There's that. I think he's going to actually like the project. He's going to see that it was done fair, the perspective. Because he's going to see too many people or he'll be consumed by what his personal experience was with each individual that's saying things about him because he lived these things. She's going to understand it. You can interview her following that and I'll do the interview with her. I'll make sure I put it together. Yeah, because I had communications with her to understand it. What's going on, and even though she's not in the docuseries, it was important I spoke to her to understand how things transpired. The husband, I spoke to him away from her, separate individual communications, and then see things kind of match up. Like when people say things, I go, "Oh, okay, I hear what you said," but when you hear things multiple times from people, different people, it kind of rings true to you. He got old real fast. His hair was jet black. Like mine, and the next day he was like a full. All I saw from was the raccoon pictures from the courtroom when they drew him. It was like
One of the most pivotal moments came when he obtained footage recorded during Diddy's final days before formal charges were filed, material that immediately shifted the entire tone of the narrative. Those who viewed the raw content described it as intense and deeply disturbing, with an impact that was impossible to dismiss. According to 50 Cent, that footage marked a clear turning point, elevating the project from a routine documentary into something far more serious, forceful, and impossible for the public to ignore.
And Kirk Burrows called me up. He's like, yo, Gene, you and Wolf, I got y'all tickets to LA. I said, all right, cool. So I go down there and I pick up the tickets to LA. I got Wolf ticket. So I'm calling Wolf up. I said, yo, Wolf, I got your ticket to go to LA. Wolf said, I ain't going. I said, what you mean you ain't going? He said, yo, Gene, I ain't gonna tell you how I'm making I ain't gonna tell you how to make your money, but I'm gonna let you know this. I told Puff them if they wasn't gonna take 2 tour buses of my niggas out there with us, I'm not going. Wolf is the head of all the functions that has to do with Puff dealing with security. I have my own contract with Puff, yeah. Paul Offord ran Green Gate Security, which is the daily operations of Puff stuff. That's his house, his cars, his transportation. He ran the office, the bad boy office, the clothing, all that shit. He ran the deli operation with his security. Wolf is over whatever's happening with Puff. You understand? Wolf tells Puff them and tell Kirksborough them, no, if y'all not going out there right.
Just like that, 50 Cent has re-entered the spotlight armed with what he values most, solid documentation and undeniable records, making it clear this isn't routine rivalry but a calculated exposure years in the making. He's openly implied that without a full-scale documentary breakdown, others simply aren't operating on his level, while also addressing why several high-profile figures once close to Diddy have remained silent. According to 50, this moment was carefully timed, built through years of quiet collection and patience, and now the window to speak has fully opened. With Diddy under mounting legal pressure and far less control over the narrative, attempts by his legal team to challenge or slow the project have reportedly failed to blunt its momentum. Still, critics note the documentary sidestepped a controversial incident involving former associate Anthony "Wolf" Jones, a topic Gene Deal recently revisited by questioning why certain events were excluded. Deal pushed back on long-standing rumors tied to past industry conflicts, arguing that key details were misunderstood and that Wolf had repeatedly voiced concerns about safety well before critical moments. Together, these developments add another heavy layer to a documentary that continues to intensify, grow louder, and demand attention.
Harder to ignore.
Did not and was not going anywhere that had to do with California. And it wasn't because of the Jake situation. It was that he wanted to be safe, and the only way he felt safe if he was going out there with the dudes from his clique. And that was the Valley Mob. That's the only way. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And people they didn't even put that in the documentary. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And that bullshit was with BMF. That's a big segment in my book that I wrote that whole shit. I wrote a whole big situation in my book regarding that, Mike. And I know you're doing this. I want to say that right there because I was there the night that Meech had promised Puff, you know what I'm saying? He ain't have to worry about Suge Knight. He ain't have to worry about nobody from this point on. And telling Puff some shit like that made him think that he could talk to Wolf any kind of way. Because if anybody knew, BMF was powerful back then. They had dudes from everywhere. And Meech telling him he ain't have to worry about nobody no more. It made Puff think that he could tell Wolf that he didn't need Wolf no more. And one thing.
Tragically, Wolf lost his life while carrying out his role protecting Puff and overseeing critical security responsibilities, a reality Gene Deal insists cannot be brushed aside. He argues that this entire chapter, along with Wolf's deeper connections and influence, was completely left out of the documentary, stripping away context that could dramatically reshape how events are interpreted. According to Gene, removing these details weakens the integrity of the narrative, because Wolf wasn't a background figure or a footnote. He was a central presence whose role and fate demand serious consideration in any truthful and complete account of what really unfolded.
Of what truly happened.
Garagos, who is my co-host on Two Angry Men, he's represented Diddy for years, and his daughter is part of the Agnifilo defense team, and he was involved in all of this. So in this past weekend's podcast, I pushed him to find out how Agnifilo really feels here, and Mark kind of skirted it some, but I think you get the sense. Diddy knew that Mark was being recorded, but Diddy didn't tell Mark. Does Mark feel betrayed by Diddy?
I've not talked to Mark about it.
What do you think? What do you
think? I will tell you I'll just tell you, if it was me, I would be more than a little upset. I was more than a little upset when the client didn't know and I was being recorded. I mean, there was a while there where I was meeting clients under bridges, freeway bridges, because I was PTSD over it. So I think as a lawyer, it is one of the most inviolate oaths that you take to protect the client confidentiality and the client privilege. So I don't know. I haven't talked to Mark, but if I were Mark, I would be out of my head.
Out of my head.
It's incredible. Diddy did two things here. Number one, he betrayed Mark Agnifilo, who, to your point, did so much for him. Obviously, without Mark Agnifilo, may very well be spending the rest of his life in prison. The second thing that he did is by having a third party that's privy to the conversation, the videographer in this case standing there, there's no privilege, right? Diddy waived that entire privilege. Now, it didn't end up backfiring because it seems nobody knew about it until the end of trial. And what are you going to do at this point? But it's such a callous act by Diddy to just...
Gene's stance is clear. Wolf's death was not a random incident or a minor detail. It was tightly linked to the industry's power structure and decisions made at the highest levels, and it warranted far greater attention than it received. At the same time, reports suggest Diddy and his family are weighing a massive defamation lawsuit, rumored to reach an astonishing $1 billion, in response to the documentary. However, as 50 Cent has pointed out, taking that path would require proving the claims are false, a move that could invite even deeper scrutiny and unintended consequences. Financial strain is also becoming a real factor, as extended legal fights, appeals, and constant representation can rapidly drain resources, even for someone with substantial wealth, particularly with limited new income flowing in. Adding to the pressure, Diddy now faces intense backlash over allegations that he secretly recorded private conversations with his own attorney, Mark Agnello, a claim viewed as a severe breach of trust that strikes at the core of the confidentiality attorneys rely on to defend their clients effectively.
Defend their clients effectively.
On the stand for 20 minutes. She will continue on Monday, but before I tell you what she testified to, I do want to give you a warning that she does talk about violence and abuse. Started off with Dawn testifying that she was working with Diddy from 2004 until 2011. She opens up about an incident she witnessed in 2009 when she went to Diddy's home in order to record. He said her and Cassie were downstairs when they heard Diddy yelling and coming down saying, "Where the F are my eggs?" He said Diddy grabbed the skillet full of eggs and tried to hit Cassie on the head, and she went down in a fetal position. Was punching and kicking Cassie before he put his arm around her neck. Diddy then grabbed her by the hair and dragged her up the stairs, and she was in shock. She said she was so in shock she did not intervene, nor did she call the police. Next day, she said Diddy locked her and another person in the recording studio and threatened them. In her own words, he said what we saw was what lovers in passionate relationships do. He said Cassie was okay and it would be in our best interest if we didn't say anything. He claims that Diddy then said he was trying to get them to the top of the industry before threatening them by saying where he comes from, people go missing if they talk. Then after all of that, he got them flowers. Prosecutor then asked, "How did you understand that?" And she said, "Death." His attorney yelled objection, and then they had a sidebar. That's when attorneys from both sides will come up to the judge and whisper between one another.
And she's saying that she witnessed a gangbang, which actually we know it as called a train. And she worked on the album, The Train to Paris. And like I heard one of the YouTube, it could be Tistel, say that we didn't know what the train to Paris meant. But now we know that the train to Paris was a train in Scotland, according to Dawn. It wasn't a train in Paris, it was a train in Scotland. Now, only time I ever witnessed Puff doing something is when two guys and two girls will go in the room. And that was just regular. And however they did it, whatever they did, that was their business. But he gotten bold enough, whereas that he would do that in front of Dawn and other people at a poolside in Scotland. You sure it was Scotland, man?
Yeah, that's what she said, man.
Scotland, Arizona, but not Scotland, the country.
Nah, she talking about the country, man.
Wow. I just think that, you know, man, you got to go back to the drugs and the alcohol, man. The drugs and the alcohol, man. And those things that make you do strange things. And for somebody to, somebody to just gang banging an assistant, she might have a lawsuit now too. She might have a lawsuit too.
The series intensifies further by including audio from a 2008 proffer interview with Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, who is currently awaiting trial related to the 1996 death of Tupac Shakur, adding a heavy and controversial layer to the narrative. As explained in the documentary, a proffer is a limited legal agreement that allows someone to speak with investigators under specific protections, without guaranteeing full immunity. In the recorded interview, Davis delivers a detailed account in which he alleges that Diddy played a role in arranging the attack in exchange for a large financial incentive, a claim that has reignited fierce debate and public scrutiny. While these statements remain unproven allegations, their inclusion significantly raises the stakes of the series, shifting it from a cultural investigation into a deeply unsettling examination of unresolved history and long-standing claims that continue to haunt the industry.
Ending accusations.
He even said that, like, in retrospect, that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Puffy. By Zip stealing the money, now Puffy isn't connected to that shit. Or else it would have been like a murder for hire or something, you know what I'm saying?
The FBI said Zip.
So the FBI told you the same
he was
thing.
a dirty motherfucker, yeah.
So the FBI told you that Zip kept that money as well.
They said Zip's a dirty motherfucker. Everybody crossed you. He's the last one to know every fucking thing. Even lawyers.
Does this confirm Diddy's guilt? Absolutely not. A single interview or proffer does not establish responsibility or prove wrongdoing on its own, but it can add context when evaluated alongside other statements and available information. When claims come from someone accused of involvement, they are not definitive evidence, yet they may become part of a broader puzzle that investigators, journalists, and the public continue to examine as the full picture gradually takes shape.
As the full picture slowly comes together.
What makes you say you lost your empire because of Puffy? Why you say that?
I did. Shit. If I wouldn't have never met him, I wouldn't have never been involved in this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? If I would have never met the brother, I would have never been involved in this bullshit. Really. Because me and Suge was playing on the same Pop Warner team and everything. My homeboys helped put Suge in the game and all that shit, you know? And it really crashed two people's empire that fucking one night. You know what I'm saying? Mine's for sure. Suge's too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, man. So you feel like Puffy, he's the reason for your empire and Suge empire going down because of the whole situation with Tupac.
Exactly. He the only one still balling. Shit. Yeah, he made our shit go down, man. Yeah, I ain't even met him over. He won't even look out or nothing. You know?
So break that down, man, for the people out there that don't know the backstory. What did Puffy do exactly to break down y'all empires?
Because he pitted us against each other, it seemed like he pitted us against each other. You know, which was kind of smart because we're Crips and Suge was Bloods. Like, you know what I'm saying? He just called me and Zip was rolling up Greenleaf one night. He called and asked, you think it's safe to come out here to do our concerts? And I just said, man, give me like 50 tickets to each concert and we'll be out there with you. We'll go with you. We went to the concert in San Diego, went to the concert in Anaheim, Irvine Meadows, and the one in Las Vegas with them. Yeah. And back then they was just a startup coming up, you know what I'm saying? They didn't really have no money like that.
The documentary also delves deeply into Diddy's early life, examining his upbringing, his relationship with his mother, and key personal connections that shaped his trajectory, some marked by conflict or serious misconduct claims. Alongside this, the series sheds light on his mindset and behavior as he climbed the music industry ladder, illustrating a pattern of ambition, control, and calculated decision-making. Rather than relying solely on rumors, this segment explores how formative experiences and personal dynamics may have influenced the persona and authority he later wielded at the pinnacle of the industry.
Who grew up with street-funded privilege. After his father passed away, it's very clear that his mother kept on hustling and kept hanging around hustlers. Tim Dog has described the parties in the house. Pimps, hoes, hustlers, models, basketball players. You got that kind of crowd. There's got to be a drug dealer or so there. Alcohol everywhere. There was a stage built in the living room, and they were asked to perform as kids. I mean, like, this is how he grew up. It was almost if he was designed to throw the parties that we'll later hear about. From the white parties to the parties overseas, with very, 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 very interesting things happening there, all the way to the freak-offs. It's like Sean Combs was in a never-ending party his whole life. Now, from a boy being draped in chinchilla to a boy running around the streets promoting parties, interning for Andre Harrell before he got a paid position. I mean, his life was like a whirlwind. It was almost like he was in too much of a rush to grow up. I mean, even the way Andre Harrell said he bullied his way into his home, coming up with some story about a fight between him and Janice and how he couldn't live with his mom anymore. And the next thing you know, he's living with Andre. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. In my opinion, I do not believe they were just roommates. I do not believe this was just a mentor-mentee relationship. In my opinion, from rumors that I've heard, from some things that might have been lost along the way, there was a much closer relationship.
The series also underscores a recurring pattern. Diddy repeatedly appears connected to high-risk, legally sensitive, and emotionally charged situations, yet somehow avoids lasting consequences, prompting serious questions about why this pattern persisted for so long. Taken together, these revelations don't paint a simple villain story but rather depict a complex individual shaped by unresolved personal issues, power, and unchecked influence, who may have knowingly perpetuated cycles that affected those around him. While these remain allegations, the portrait that emerges is one of controversy, complexity, and delayed accountability, leaving viewers to wonder just how much impact can occur before the system finally intervenes.